Pixar just revealed the new trailer for Inside Out 2 yesterday. And while I am really excited that we get to have a bit more story with one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time, in the trailer, we got introduced to a few new characters representing some more emotions that Riley is going to feel now that she's grown and she's entering pubescence. And these characters are definitely different. We got to meet one of them specifically, Anxiety, and she looks like this. And, well, I guess from the trailer, we get to be excited that there is a new Inside Out, and we get to follow more of the story with some of the beloved characters that we got to know from the first one. And I guess when I saw the new character design, I kind of thought to myself, well, if I took a little bit of time, I probably could come up with something better than that. Because no shame on Pixar. They do sometimes, as of late, have good character design. But it sort of kind of feels like they were just going with the new kind of style that they're working with and not checking how much that really fits with the style that was set in the movies. So I figured it'd be a little bit fun to go and take a little bit of time, draw up a doodle of the main cast, and then see if I could come up with at least a couple ideas of how we could redesign Anxiety to be a little less pile of mud looking. Okay, so I've got the drawing pulled up onto a tablet, and I'm just gonna kind of look at a picture of Anxiety from the trailer and just sort of start sketching out the shape of their mouth. The mouth's kind of the main shape that sort of helps to build the rest of the head. So I'm gonna put two eyeballs on top of that. Anxiety, I kind of feel, is built sort of like a Muppet, which is an interesting, but it's a very kind of different sort of approach to how the rest of the characters sort of were created. So I'm gonna put their expression, and I kind of feel like they'd be standing up. That in this shot, they're kind of standing off to the side, sort of looking over at the rest of the crew. They're a little bit nervous about going over there and joining them. So they've kind of got like tense shoulders, their legs are together. Just a little bit self-conscious. Gonna put a couple lines that sort of define the volume of her hair. Then I'm gonna put I'm gonna put her hand over on the side of her face, sort of just touching it, just kind of like kind of holding it, and put a little bit more detail. Seems about enough. So I'm just gonna make sure that I've got the leg sort of right. I understand a lot of the reasons why they went for the design pieces that they put onto Anxiety, but just overall, the character is not really that appealing, and I kind of feel like they just went for it without kind of giving a lot of thought onto just like spending enough time like revising it and just like looking for options so that they could choose whatever worked best. Because the kind of style that Anxiety has in terms of how they're made is just really sort of, it just clashes really strongly with the rest of the characters. It doesn't feel, it feels completely it feels very off style compared to the rest. And so it just, in both the trailer and even in drawing form, as I'm working on this, it doesn't fit. It feels like it's like just fan art or something, or it feels like, in all honesty, from the trailer, Anxiety feels like a character that would be in like a show version of Inside Out, or something made by like another company that got the rights. But certainly not the same quality and appeal and cuteness that the other characters have from the relatively recent first movie. It sort of has the same problem that Incredibles 2 had. We had like half decent designs, but that are definitely below the standard of quality for main Pixar. And it was the main issue for Incredibles 2, and I'm afraid it might be an issue in Inside Out 2. I have a lot more confidence in the story that they're going to do versus how they're going to introduce any of the new characters, including the 4 other ones that are supposed to come out. Especially if this is the one that they chose to highlight. So I'm just putting in some of the some solid lines down for the character. Okay, looks like that's good. And I'm gonna kind of put some, I figure I'm gonna put just lines for the hair and kind of build the actual outline of it when I go in and color. Put in the boots, and like I kind of understand like the baggy pants, but it just looks very unappealing. There's just not really that many inches of this character that I think are appealing, and I would love to discuss with people who do generally find this design appealing. What about it? Because a lot of it is subjective, but it just doesn't work any time that I look at the character. And while I was drawing it, it just didn't match, didn't have the same charm. And it feels like it's made by a TV studio. Like this is just an offshoot. And it looks like an unfriendly character as well. So we're just going to kind of put in more colors. Put in the stripes for the shirt, which kind of reminds me of a traffic cone. I understand what they went for with the colors, but it doesn't feel appealing. I don't like this character. I don't want to see this character take up more screen time than any of the characters that I've come to know. And yeah, I sort of put on a little bit of a Venn, or I guess a non-Venn diagram here, to kind of show the pretty clear difference in designs choice that these characters have, that it's quite obviously one set and the other. So I'm going to kind of take this picture and just export. Oh, I gotta fill in a little spot there on sadness accidentally made. I'm going to export out this file so that I can take the whole thing and scale it down, and I'll keep it in the corner while I sort of brainstorm and doodle a little bit on what kind of design we can do as an alternative for this character. For if we do have to go in and design a character for Anxiety, what could they look? And is this going to take that long? Will it take me that long to come up with a design that's more appealing than the one that Pixar has previewed in their trailer? So let's see how long this takes. Going to do a little bit of ideation first, which is the first step for this creative process. Put down what I'm going to go with. I'm going to keep on the wide mouth. Stuff that doesn't work, the volcano hair, the orange and white sort of palette on the shirt, the baggy pants, the sort of bean adjacent mouth. Those don't work. I think that the floating eyebrows work okay, so I might keep that. And we'll even keep on the orange skin, because I do understand why they chose that. It is one of the main colors that wasn't already used on a character. So I'm just going to start out roughly with the same ideas that they were going for with this character. I'm going to go with a wide mouth and maybe put some eyeballs on top. I'm going to kind of do a little bit, I'm going to do sort of what they do for Kinger in the Amazing Digital Circus, and sort of make the eyeballs a little bit offset, actually, because I think that could work well in making it appealing without having to do kind of the sort of more gremlin-like sort of like little goblin face that their anxiety has. Or maybe we'll just do sketching out sort of a lumpy face. That might be an idea. Put in eyes that are offset again. Kind of looks a little bit like an olive flounder. Just because it does have to be a unique shape from the rest of them. But I don't know if this design isn't exactly what I'm going for. So just gonna test what it would look like if it had sort of a similar body type, sort of that thin vase. I think that I could make it so that the fingers end in sharp points. That might distinguish them a little bit from the rest of the characters. But I don't really know. I think that I'm going to try a couple more shapes, because I want to do a design that's appealing, and I feel like the shape is going to be the most important. Another difference that anxiety has from the other characters is they're not very human-like. Anger is the only Anger and possibly Fear are the only characters in the cast that don't really have some base in human design, which is another reason why anxiety doesn't really fit. So we'll try, I think maybe if I go with a circle, it's kind of a shape that also works with the whole kind of stressed, high-strung sort of idea we're going for. I don't know. Also looks a lot like a Muppet, and that's something that I kind of want to avoid. Probably have this kind of pose, the arms raised up. I'm gonna go and draw the face right next to the rest of them. See if I can do something that sort of feels like it goes with it. Maybe sort of got baggy eyes. Look like they've been having a rough time, falling asleep. Still kind of that thin body type, which I think works. Maybe make them a little tall. Put in some boots. Sort of kind of a sphere head version of the character. Alright, let's start a new page. I'm gonna just kind of draw a couple more just random ideas, see if it works. I'm gonna kind of draw like a realistic head. It might maybe be able to kind of caricaturize later. Give him balding hair. Sort of start out realistic and then work towards cartoony. Kind of like that idea. Sort of putting in a character with balding hair. The problem is that it's a guy, not a girl. And we have to keep it as a girl. Otherwise, we'd be having a problem. And it also would mean that the balance might change. I kind of like the idea of the sort of baggy eyes. So kind of start with that. Put in the mouth. Yeah, they're nervous. I'm kind of like the idea. I'm gonna try giving sort of hair like, kind of like country girl hair. I kind of like that. Go in here and put that kind of body in. Get the arms. They're also raised up, kind of shaking a little bit. Kind of put them in that same pose. The hands are kind of both sort of like outstretched. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit too realistic, too human-like, I think. But kind of got a character that I think is somewhat working. It's working right now better than the other design, but I can make it better. Kind of like the idea of sort of a long face, so I'm going to put that in. Kind of like that, kind of more abstract face. Kind of with that hair. Maybe we should just try doing it as a shape again. Just going to kind of sketch out a shape for the head and see if we can get somewhere. Same hair. Put the eyes together. Yeah. I don't know. Is that kind of okay? Looks pretty similar to Fear. But I don't know. I want to do something that's good, not just okay. Not just see if I can do the same sort of thing and kind of make it better. I'm gonna put in a nose this time. Get those eyebrows. I kind of like having one eye that's larger than the other. Keep that same hair. That's working a little bit better than the other one. It's kind of a mixture of the two that I just drew. Kind of put her in like a sleeping gown. She looks a little bit too much like she's supposed to be exhaustion or something, though. So gotta try and do something a little bit different. I think I'm gonna, we could just go with the farm girl idea. Give her sort of this strap shirt. Kind of shows how thin and bony her body is. Because she isn't able to sleep, she isn't able to concentrate or eat. We're kind of going a little bit more dark and serious than Pixar was. But a lot of the best designs come from taking things and making them serious, and then making them simple so that they look appealing to kids. Well, I might go with this design. I'm just a little bit afraid that it won't match with the rest of them. He's a little too human-like. I'm gonna go and take a square and sort of block out the old anxiety, and then we're just gonna sort of sketch out sort of what the face might look like. go again with that sort of longish sort of face, and put in the eyes. She is looking a little bit too much like a scarecrow. I'm just gonna redo that. I'm gonna put. What if we went with hair that was kind of like just frizzy, sort of like the idea, but it's kind of more like, it's kind of like Merida's hair. We draw little eyes right here, looking over, smile. Yeah, I kind of like that a little bit. It's working a little bit. Put in the shirt. Got the fingers. Got that sort of nervous, a little bit frenzied sort of pose. Gonna put her in clothes. I'm not gonna go with overalls, because I think that doesn't really make a ton of sense. Take her. I'm gonna flip it. I'm just gonna change the eyes so that she's looking at the other direction. Kind of like that. I like that she's a little bit shorter than Joy, and she's about the same height that Fear is. Yeah. Gonna work on cleaning up these lines a bit. I kind of wish it was more obvious in my line drawing, but I do have the idea of her mouth jutting forward a lot more than the face does, because I do kind of want that sort of big, wide mouth that the original Anxiety had. Draw this. That's looking a little bit creepy. Might change that a bit. Put some little zigzags for the hair, but just enough that it shows that it's kind of like this curly hair. Eyebrows. And I just realized that I've got to scale all of the files up, because it felt kind of weird that the line was so thick. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to trace over kind of the stuff that I've got. And yeah, that looks a little bit better. I'm going to make kind of more of a button nose. Either the head, because it wasn't working too well. We make that neck. I'm going to make the shirt line come there. In straps to kind of this sort of zigzag that the outer shirt has over the inner one. Kind of again just going with that sort of frenzy. Gonna have her shirt kind of untucked because she doesn't have time to tuck it into her pants. Doesn't think about it. Thin legs. Put the arms. You know what? Actually, let's go and I'm gonna make them I'm gonna make rubber hose arms. Yeah, because that's something that will be a little bit different from the rest of the characters. If you want something that is different from the rest of the characters, do that. Give them sort of these little old animation gloves. Because even though we're pretty far in, I'm just gonna add in this idea. You can put in ideas whatever you want. Okay, looking good. Gonna do sort of smaller boots than I had, because I kind of feel like big shoes doesn't match. Sort of draw out the outline of the hair. I don't want it to look like kind of old grandma hair. I want it to be kind of like Annie style hair. So I'm just gonna try to do my best. Draw a couple more squiggles. And oh, I just realized a problem. He looks like the boyfriend that she had in the first one. No! Okay, I have to think of some way that we can make it so that it looks a bit less like that. I mean, he is basically anxiety incarnate, but we have to change it a little bit. I don't want it to just look like I copied the design from the boy. Hmm. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna redraw this nose. Okay. Make sure it all looks good. Make sure it all looks okay. Rename this. It's my anxiety design. There, you kind of get jump scared a little bit from the old design. You can see how that looks. You use the same color and color in all the skin. Gonna give sort of jeans looking pants, red hair, color in the eyes. I forgot to draw around the pupils on her. I'm having a little bit of trouble with this. Come on. There we go. I think I'm gonna give her kind of purpley eyes. She looks a little bit much like a clown right now. I'm just trying to come up with some like good kind of color design here. Sort of a light yellow dress. None of the other characters have that. Don't know what color to put her undershirt as though. Let's try it out. Maybe just make it all yellow. I don't know yet. Might decide that later. Gonna kind of put this sort of thick black line on there. Kind of wanted to be similar to a bumblebee. Kind of feel it would work. Put more zigzags on the rest of the dress. Kind of feel like that would be the pattern that would be on her shirt. Trying to really redefine this mouth. Put some bags underneath the eyes. Let's do gray. And she still looks a little bit too much like a boy. I'm gonna try put some more lines on here, kind of show like sort of wearing, sort of show wrinkles, show some wrinkles. Put some more curls in the hair. Yeah, it's looking better. She kind of looks a little bit like a Raggedy Ann doll. It definitely goes a lot more with the style of the other characters so far, though. Don't really know how much I care for the color choices. Gonna make it so her neck isn't quite as long. Okay. There we go. Clean that up. I'm just gonna darken the tops of the eye a little bit to suggest thicker eyelashes, like a lot of the other characters do, like Joy does in particular. Move up the shirt a bit. Put some of the blue color there. And okay, just gonna double check, make sure I cleaned everything. Okay, and there. Well, I think that in just a couple of hours, we were able to go and draw a new version of Anxiety that works a lot better with the rest of the characters. Still not perfect. There's a couple of things that I wish that I did a little bit differently. But just kind of working off a couple of different ideas that I just sort of brainstormed through. I think we got ourselves a decent character. She looks kind of stressed out, she looks anxious, and she looks a lot more like the style of the others. Ugh! Oh. Yeah, I keep forgetting. Oh, boy. Here. I'm gonna put a little I'm gonna put a little bit of white underneath so that I can kind of switch between these a little bit better. But it doesn't work quite right. It's not up to the quality that the other characters have, but we definitely have made a little bit of progress here. So I'd say that we can sort of step back and feel a little bit good about ourselves. Being able to design a different take on the character that works well within this Pixar universe.